All right. I believe we are live. I don't know. If you're in here, please comment, say if you can see me. Um, Not that's production value here tonight. I will figure that out if we do this more than once. Um, yeah, thanks for being here. What a week for the Cardinals. Very interesting. First series great, second series not as great. Today was pretty fun though. I will wait until 7:30 to make sure anyone that needs to get in here will get in here. If you have any comments, anything you want me to discuss, just go ahead and drop them down below. You do have to subscribe to do that. It should be a minute after subscribing for you to be able to do that. So go ahead and do that. I am going to wait another minute before I start the actual podcast part of this. But thanks for being here again. All right, might as well get it started now. How you doing, Remix? Thanks for being here. Um, this is going to be a little bit of a learning experience for me because I am not quite sure how to work everything. All right, Ryan, thanks for stopping by. It'll be posted later if you'd like to listen to it after the fact. All right, let's start with Ivan Herrera because why not? He was the man of the day for sure. Fantastic day for him. 3 home runs, first time in Cardinal history. They Cardinals had some from a catcher, of course that is. Cardinals had some fantastic catchers. We all know that. Ted Simmons, Yadier Molina, the list goes on. Mike Shannon, of course. Um, he's had a fantastic start to the year. 1,700 OPS in his first week of baseball games. What's up, Kareem? That's crazy. And the thing that's been awesome about Ivan Herrera is we've seen this coming. He's kind of, his first year in the big leagues, we saw the growth. He wasn't quite ready. Last year, 300 batting average out of nowhere. Didn't get the playing time we all wanted. Now he's kind of the starting catcher for the first 7 innings of most games, at least. And to come out today and just put on a show and put the team on his back like that was awesome. I know the Cardinals needed it because another extra innings game, and I think we all might have just stopped watching because we know how that went the last 2 games. But with all the negatives that happened the last 2 games, has been refreshing through the first 6 games of the year is the offense has been kind of awesome. I guess we could say out of nowhere. Like I think we all knew this offense has the upside to be pretty good. Maybe not the best you've ever seen, but at least a top 10. I think that's definitely possible. But did anyone see through the first week 7 guys, I believe, over 1,000 OPS on the team? Like I don't think anyone could have possibly seen that happening. Um, and the one of the guys that's not even over 1,000 OPS on the team is Victor Scott, and he's sitting over an 850 right now. So I mean, if you guys saw that coming, then kudos to you. It was definitely not something that I thought was possible for this team. I don't want to get to the 2 games before today yet because that's not going to be fun to discuss. And boy, were they frustrating. But today, the one thing I will say about this team, even through the couple bad games, is they don't give up, which is great to see. Today, I think last year, if they had given up that grand slam like Sonny did in the 7th inning, the game's probably over. Like, I think we all can at least say that. Like, there's no way they're coming back. Today, they do it with the 2 guys who were 0 for the year so far. Wilson Contreras and Mason Wynn finally getting on the board. Finally doing something in big moments because both of those guys over the last 48 hours had massive moments that could have won the game for you, and both came up short. So those are 2 guys I don't think we have to worry about. I know I've seen some things on Twitter, like, are we worried about Mason Wynn? Are we worried about Wilson Contreras? Like, Wilson Contreras, I couldn't be less worried about. He'll be just fine. He goes through slumps. We saw this in 2023. He had a really bad start to the year. He'll be fine. Mason Wynn, maybe he won't quite be league average this year. That's definitely possible. But even if he's, 90% or like the 10% below league average, 5% below league average, he's still going to be basically just as valuable as he was last year, maybe slightly less. But I'm still not worried about him. I think it'll come. Like his bat to ball skills are too good for me to worry about that right now. Lars Nootbaar is a guy I think we need to talk about as well. What a start to the year he's had. 2 homers, one against the lefty. I mean, he looks like he's going to be one of the best leadoff men in the league. I know it's only 6 games. I get it, but just an awesome start for him. He's getting on base at a crazy rate, like we expect him to. Like that's no surprise for any of us. But um, the power, the contact ability, we all know he's a good fastball hitter. That's carried over, no surprise. Really impressed with what Newt's done to start the year. All right, let's get to some of these comments. All right, well, nice to see you in here, Kareem. Thanks for coming. Dylan Bristow, nice to see you. Thank you. Salute, Ron. I see your comments under every video, and we definitely appreciate it. Definitely sucks we didn't win the series, but I'm still very encouraged by this team overall. Very fun to watch. They have definitely played a really fun brand of baseball to start the year. I mean, I guess maybe it's not so much fun to watch them give up 3 runs in the 10th and 11th inning yet last night. But in terms of, feeling like you're never out of a game, Lucan Baker last night coming off the bench cold in the 10th inning, hitting a 2-run double that ended up being huge, getting you back in the game. Like that's one of those games where there were so many big moments. You felt like Arenado coming up in the clutch, which last year it just felt like he never did. I know he had a walk-off homer, but for the most part, in big games when they really counted, and then wasting that, like that kind of stinks. It makes the loss hurt a little bit more. Like if they just would have lost in the 10th inning, I think we all would have been frustrated but gotten over it. But the fact that they rallied back and didn't really get rewarded for it, that sucks. But it's also a good sign of things to come, as we saw today. They had to rally back again in the 7th inning, and they ended up getting a win out of this one because Ivan Herrera was on a warpath today. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on the Ivan Herrera, Pedro Pajes late game substitutions. Kareem, if you're still in here, love to hear what you think about that. I'm kind of confused by it, and it's the same with Walker. I get the idea that when you have a lead, you want to shut the lead. You want to win the game, but like Helsley's human. So if he blows a game and then you're going into like the bottom of the ninth, maybe you're down a run or you're tied, and you have Ciani and Pajes taking it at 2 at bats there. I don't think we feel very confident in that. And even if they do get the job done and get you to extras, then you might have had to pinch hit for them. So then the defense is gone anyway. Like I like the aggression by Ali saying we trust our bullpen, but you should also trust the guys that you're putting in the lineup. Like we saw it the other day in the extra innings. We saw them pinch hit for Jordan Walker because of the handedness, and they thought they had a better advantage. And then the next at bat or 2 at bats later, they let Mason Wynn, who's been the worst hitter on the team, take an at bat instead of going to Gorman. So if you're gonna do some of these things, I'd like some consistency in it at the very least, because then we can at least evaluate your thought process and say, okay, we get what you're doing. But when you're only doing it sometimes, not to other people, and you're picking and choosing, one, it kind of kills the confidence of the guy that you did it to, and two, it just leaves the fans thinking like, what's going on here? Dylan Bristow, dumb this early, in my opinion. Let the starters prove that why they are the starters. I agree. I think I heard AJ Przinsky say that once. He said, if you're good enough to start the game, you should be good enough to end the game. Like, I think if you're up 2 or 3 runs in the 9th inning, I have no problem with it then. But in a 1-run game and a tie game in the 7th inning, I just don't. I don't think putting Pedro Paz in there is worth it. Ivan Herrera, while he did have I do think he had a caught stealing taken away from him by a replay that didn't go the Cardinals' way. But I don't think it's going to kill you. I really don't. If a guy gets on base, I'd rather take the potential that he comes up again and does something special. Remix says, I think Ivan deserved a long run way after today. You can't risk losing that bat at all through the game, regardless of what the score is. Just let Pajes play once or twice a week and keep Ivan fresh. I agree with you. Pajes he's also earned some playing time too. Like we can be honest. He had a really, really good game on Sunday. He's a good defensive catcher. I don't think he's Yadier Molina or Cal Raleigh like some people think. But I do think he has, like, you shouldn't bury him on the bench by any means. But I'd also like to see every once in a while, if you're going to put Pajes in there against a lefty, put Herrera at DH. I know that complicates the Baker situation, and you want Wilson in against left-handed pitchers as well, so you can't put him at first. But Ivan Herrera has to be in your lineup almost every game because I think he's a top 5 hitter on this team, and that's where I'm at. All right, Kareem says, the Cardinals might have a ton of coaching talent in the org, but Herrera should be the catcher of the future. Oh, catching talent, sorry. Yeah, I agree. Jimmy Crooks, we can talk about him at some point. He might make a debut this year if there's an injury. Obviously, we don't know what he'll become, but I don't know how likely it is that he becomes what Herrera already is. So they got to do their best to figure out his throwing situation. I know they did say that they're going to work on throwing from the knees and see if that helps him. I mean, I guess do whatever you got to do. I'm not a catching coach, but I think Herrera's just. I mean, the upsides there is too much. It's too crazy to to replace him for a defensive catcher, in my opinion, and a defensive catcher that's not an elite defensive catcher. Like he's not Yadier Molina. Pedro's a good catcher, a really good backup. He's not, an everyday Gold Glove, Platinum Glove caliber catcher at this point in time. He's not Patrick Bailey. Bristow said, I also don't understand the Siani to center, VS2 to right. We gave the keys to VS2, show him that the org believes he's the best center fielder on the team rather than moving him when the game gets late. I fully agree with that. Now, we did see yesterday a ball late in the game in the 10th inning, I believe it was off Shanwell's bat, that Vic took a little bit of a weird route to kind of undercut it. I don't know if Siani catches that ball. I don't know if Vic ever had a chance to catch that ball. It did look weird, but it is weird to say, hey, you're our starting center fielder, and then say, but we're also not going to play you in center field sometimes. Like that's weird to me. It's worked so far. Siani's a great defensive center fielder. There's no doubt about that, and that is his value on this roster. I think if you give a guy a starting job, you let him finish there. It would be like I know Mason Wynn's like an elite level shortstop defensively, but it would have been like last year saying Brandon Crawford, go play short and we're moving you to second, Mason. Like that's weird to me. If you trust Victor to be your center fielder for 8 innings and he does a good job for those 8 innings and he doesn't cost you any runs, I don't know why all of a sudden we say, okay, he's going to cost us one in the ninth. To me, that doesn't make the most sense. All right, let's get to Nolan Arenado because I know I've been tough on Nolan Arenado. Everyone that's watched me knows that. What a great start for him. And Kareem, if you have any stats or anything that you've seen that you'd like to share on Arenado, I'd love to look at it. His bat speed we know is I think over 3 miles per hour up from last year on average. Now that could dip and change based on when it gets to August. I'm sure his bat's not going to be quite as quick as it is right now. But man, he looks like a different hitter. I would say he looks closer to 2022 than he looks to 2024 Nolan. That's not saying he's going to be an MVP front runner or anything like that, but it's very encouraging. Like even the ball he hit today off of Yusei Kikuchi that was foul. Like last year, he didn't even give us like any hope that the balls were going to go out. He was just check swinging, doing all kinds of weird things. He looks confident. I know Ollie said he looks relaxed, which if you watch Nolan Arenado in big situations over the last 2 years, he looked anything but relaxed. And yesterday came up with a huge hit to tie the game in the 10th. It's really fun because if he's good, like he's not going to be – I don't think he's ever going to be back to the 35 homer guy that has a 900 OPS. I don't see that. Maybe I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong at this point. But if he could just be 800 OPS, if he could get that out of him and 20 to 25 home runs, like imagine putting that in the middle of your lineup behind Nootbaar, Contreras, Donovan, Baker when he's up there. Herrera might move up into the 3 hole at some point in time. So Arenado, I think we all kind of, maybe not all of us, but I was at least resigned to the idea that he probably was what he was at this point in time. And he's definitely showing that might not be the case, which is honestly just a lot of fun to watch. And I don't know if it will continue, but I'm hoping that it does. Let's get to the bad losses because I guess we got to talk about it at some point. Chris Roycroft yesterday, what a frustrating inning for him. Gets his first 2 outs quickly, and we're all thinking, I think at the same time, right around the time the Blues are winning in overtime, we might have 2 come from behind wins tonight because Roycroft's not giving up a run here. Like this is Kyron Paris, and I know he's had a good start to the year, but at the same time, like no one's scared of that bat. And he's pounding him inside. He looked uncomfortable. And then, leaves the pitch out over the plate at 91 miles per hour. He smacks it in the right field. And then, they just can't get Yohan Moncada out. Like, it was just ugly. And at that point, I think we all knew there was little to no chance that they were going to come back from down 3 runs twice in extra innings. Victor Scott led off with a single and gave us some hope, I guess. But it's just too much to ask of your offense. The good news in both of those 2 games is the offense just doesn't stop fighting. And if you have a team that doesn't stop fighting, it's fun for fans to watch that. When you're down 4 runs in the 5th inning or 4th inning, you don't feel like you have to turn the game off because the game's over. You feel like, get a couple guys on base and let's see if someone can run into one. And the last 2 years, there were games where we were down 4-0 in the first, because Miles Michaelis was throwing meatballs and I was just turning the game off because like I was saving my sanity at that point. And more times than not, I ended up being right that they were not coming back in that game. I don't feel that way right now. And speaking of Miles Michaelis, we can we can get to the rotation. Um, Sonny Gray, I thought looked really good today. I don't know if anyone in here has a different opinion than that. I thought he looked really solid. It just that one inning that got him, and it's not like the first three guys that got on base were torching him or anything. But you get three guys on base, one from an unfortunate play by Wilson, and you hit a guy on an 0-2 count, which you can't do in that situation, and then you leave a sinker up to probably the best. Well, Mike Trout's on the team, one of the best power hitters on the Angels, and that you get a grand slam off you. But overall, I think we were all worried about Sonny coming into the year for good reason. He's throwing 94 today, which is also obviously a great sign. And his first two starts, 6 innings, 5 earned does not look good, but I think anyone who watched that game, it was better than that. So good signs from Sonny. Fetty was great his first start. We'll see what he looks like in Boston. I thought Palante was good. His velo was up again, which was nice to see. Libby looked pretty good yesterday. He had 5 innings, scoreless innings, 1 inning that he gave up 3 runs in, and that was all of his runs. Still had a quality start. I think I saw Kareem point this out on Twitter. His pitch mix was very strange. Like just throwing so many fastballs low in the zone. And I don't like that was Pedro Pajas, by the way, back there. So we can't blame Herrera for bad game calling, which I know some people like to do. It was just very weird. Liberatore has, his two best pitches are his curveball and slider. We all know that. We've seen it for years. And if he can mix those well, his cutter looked really good. So I like to see some pitch tweaks, but I think it was definitely a positive sign. And Miles Michaelis, I don't know how he didn't give up very many runs, but he didn't. So that's great. Like his velo's down, which is not a good sign. Like he's one that I would be very concerned about, especially going into Boston in a yard where if you're throwing up meatballs, they don't have to hit it hard. It's going to go out. So good signs. I didn't see how the guys in the minor leagues did this weekend. I know McGreevy had a rough first start. Matthews is going to be someone like those two guys. If Michaelis is bad, I don't think they'll hesitate to call one of those two guys up. I could be wrong. And maybe it's just Matz goes in there, and that's what it is, who also looked very good. But I think those two will be up sooner rather than later. Maybe not both of them, but McGreevy for sure. Who knows? But let's get to the Boston series coming up, because my take on this is I think if they have a good series in Boston where they win 2 of 3 or they sweep, which I don't think they're going to sweep, but if they win 2 of 3, we can kind of write the 2 extra inning losses off as being weird extra inning games. But if they go in there and get swept, or they go in there and they lose 2 of 3, that's a bad week. Then you're going 2-4 on the week, or you're going 1-5 on the week, and that sweep start of the year is kind of eliminated completely. The pitching matchups, I think the Cardinals are, they have the advantage in most of these matchups. 2 out of 3 for sure. Like Fetty versus Buehler, I know Buehler has a really long track record of being a very good starter in this league, but he didn't start off well this year. Last year was horrible in the regular season. I'll take Eric Fetty over him, I think, right now. Now, would it surprise me if Walker Buehler is way better than him this year? No. It wouldn't surprise me if he's better than him on Friday either. But I think you probably have the slight edge in that game. And you got Palante versus Richard Fitz, or Dick Fitz, whatever you want to call him. Palante's just more proven. I'll take him over Dick Fitz, even though, I know he has a pretty high prospect pedigree from some people who really like him. We just have to see it first. I like Palante's upside there. And Michaelis versus Newcomb, that game is a Sunday night baseball game. It could be 10-9. I don't know what to think of that game. I didn't even know Sean Newcomb was in the Boston Red Sox rotation. Like how did that happen? Did someone get hurt? Like I don't understand. Kareem says no, Crochet is huge. That is huge, because that would be Crochet's home debut as a Boston Red Sox after getting an extension. And we all know how the Cardinals fare against really good left-handed pitchers, and it's not very well. You saw this weekend, Kikuchi had a really good start against us. If Ivan Herrera wasn't, incredible today, they wouldn't have scored. I've lefty relievers ate us alive this series. Like I think the Angels have 15 left-handed pitchers on their team. I feel like we faced 2 righties all series long. It was ridiculous. And one of them was a starter. I don't get how that happened. But yeah, my dad, so I had him send in a prediction because we do predictions. he's a pessimist, and it just is what it is. So he says they're going to lose 2 of 3, which, like, I guess I think they're going to win 2 of 3. I really think this series was weird, and I think that's where I've landed is you lose like yesterday. They should have won that game. Like every single thing that they did was conducive to winning a baseball game, except for giving up the runs and extra innings. Like you look at that at bat with Jordan Walker, he hits the ball 3 feet farther and it's a run, and Donovan probably goes. He just barely misses it, and that's what happens. Donovan probably still should have gone. I know we have conflicting takes on that. For me, I probably test Mike Trout in that area and then say if I get out, then I'm going to extra innings. I get why they didn't send him. You trust Ivan Herrera on deck to find a way to get a run in, and then you force the pitcher in the strike zone because if he walks you, you win the game. I get it. I still think if you're going to be an aggressive team, which is how they're branding themselves, you probably ought to be aggressive at times. Kareem says Luke and Baker versus Nuke versus Newcomb on Sunday Night Baseball will be peak. It will be as long as Michaelis hasn't given up 7 runs already by the time that happens. Um, good time to catch the Red Sox, I think. Casas and Devers both really struggling. I know Devers doubled for his first hit of the year today. It's one hit, and it was on a curveball that they hung. The guy, if they can keep Devers, on his slump, and they can keep Casas off the bases, I mean, that kind of takes away the nucleus of that Red Sox lineup. I know Alex Bregman's there now. He hasn't been great. Christian Campbell's been really good, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to torch you in a series. He might have a really good series, but not a guy that's going to just flat out beat you. And like we said earlier, you're not facing their best pitchers. You're not facing Tanner Houck, who I know didn't have a great first start, but he still has the ability to go 7 shutout against you at will. And then Garrett Crochet, who's one of the better pitchers in all of baseball, in my opinion. And then Brian Bayo, like Dylan says, Brian Bayo and Giolito are on the IL because Giolito, unfortunately, has been on the IL a lot lately. So, and Cutter Crawford as well. So they're missing 4 arms and 3 arms right now. And 2 of the guys that are in their rotation that are 2 of their best pitchers, have to face. So I think this is, if you're going to win a series against the Boston Red Sox this year, this is probably the best time to catch them based on who you're facing and based on the fact that 2 of their best hitters in the middle of their lineup haven't really been doing much. Actually, 3 if you can count Bregman, who hasn't done much. So that's about all I've got. Actually, I do want to talk about Jordan Walker for a second. And if you guys have anything you want me to respond to, just put it in the chat and we can keep going for a little bit here. Jordan Walker looks great so far, and one of the guys over 1,000 OPS to start the year. That homer yesterday was great to see. Just crushed it to center field, which is an area we've seen already this year that most people that hit a ball over 100 miles per hour to center field, it's an out at this point in time. So you really got to hit it in April to get it out of center field at Busch Stadium. Just crushed it. Had another RBI single yesterday. Had a big hit today during their rally. He looks fantastic. And I think other than maybe Mason and Wilson, and I know Donnie didn't have the best series, so you can add him in there maybe. But everybody else, man, it's hard to find anything to be mad about offensively. I can't find anything. Victor Scott looks as good as we've seen him at the major league level for sure. Ivan Herrera, we talked about him. He looks great. Newt looks great. Arenado looks, better than I think any of us thought he was going to coming into the year. Bat speed being up, all those things that we wanted to see coming, but probably didn't think we were going to. There's a world where we're a month or 2 months from now, and we're saying Nolan Arenado, man, how did these teams not want him? Some teams made some bad mistakes not going to get Nolan Arenado when he was available. Now, is there a world where we say, oh God, we're stuck with Nolan Arenado? Definitely possible, but not yet. So, I'll ride the high while it's here at least. For this series, the 2 guys I'm really looking towards to say, hey, we need you to have a big series are the 2 guys we just talked about that had a big part in the comeback today and also struggled a lot for the last 5 games before that are Contreras and Wynn. You're playing in Fenway. We know that's a right-handed hitter's dream. You're only facing 1 lefty in the series, so that kind of sucks for those guys. But, man, if those 2 can get going in the series, and maybe if those 2 get going, 2 guys that are hot cool off, that's definitely possible. But if those 2 get going, they're going to be tough to beat. You get Victor Scott and Mason Wynn going at the bottom of the lineup at the same time. I mean, the top of their rotation is just going to have RBI opportunities every time they're up with guys in scoring position. A double, and that's going to be fun to watch if you have those 2 guys on first and second and you hit a ball in the gap. They're both scoring. They're 2 of the fastest guys on the team. And I think that will unlock the running game more. Like we've seen some of it. We've seen Vic run a little bit. We've seen Newt try to run and get picked off, and then it be a balk. We've seen Jordan Walker get picked off. But I think they want to use the running game more. But that was also based on Vic and Mason getting on base a lot at the bottom of the order. And Vic has, but Mason has not. And I want to see what that looks like if Vic's getting on stealing second. Then you get a hit, and then next thing you know, Mason wins stealing second base, and you have two singles that turn into doubles, and now the top of the order is up, and you have a run in already. Like things like that can be really exciting. I hope we see more of that. Definitely this next series coming up. Remix said, honestly, your one potential sack fly and Donovan not throwing home away from sweeping. Yeah, definitely. That's how close these games are. Now, I'd like to see the offense maybe put up a little bit more runs and off some of the mediocre pitching they were facing, and not have to be in games where one bad throwing decision and one no tag, or you can blame it on Walker, you can blame it on Donovan, whoever, away from losing. Like you should beat the Angels more than that. You should beat them like you did today, where there's really no reason to go to extra innings and no doubt where one play can cause you to lose. Um, Chad Hirschman says Newt has been solid and healthy. He's been really good, and health is a weird thing. You can't predict health. I felt like you could for maybe Tyler O'Neill. You could probably predict he wasn't going to be healthy most years. But for Newt, like it's been fluky stuff. It's been hurting his thumb on the base paths, or running into a wall in spring training and hurting a rib. Things that he just can't control. The only injury that he had that was really concerning was an oblique last year on a swing. But other than that, like it's been just weird stuff. So if he can just not do the weird things this year, he'll be just fine. Like if you get 150 games out of Lars Nootbaar, I don't know what he can be, but I think it's an all-star. And I've yet to see any reason to doubt that. And I'm not just saying that based off 6 games. Like the last 2 years when he's healthy and he has a long run of being healthy, he's one of the best hitters on the team, and it's not even close. Dylan Bristow says, looks very confident on 2-strike counts last year. Walker on a 2-strike count was very bled. Numbers could prove me wrong, but yeah, no, last year he was kind of bad in every count, though. To be honest, like any slider low and away, he was swinging at it. He's not doing that this year. He looks very confident. His whiff rate's way down. Like he looks a lot better. I think the story was Brant Brown kind of told him to go back to what he was doing when he was good. I guess, Turner Ward might not have had access to the stats from 2023 in the video. I don't know. But that's to see that that's already paying off for him. Walker has the power to put one over the green monster. I think everyone does, to be fair. But yes, he has the power to put one into the parking lot and break a windshield if he can get into one. I'd love to see that. DC, BFib is a bunch of BS. I didn't see Wrigley Field half empty for the 100 years that they had never won. It's an interesting point. I get where you're coming from. For me, I don't blame fans for not spending their money if they don't want to spend their money, especially like the start of this year has been weird. There's been a lot of tornado warnings around the St. Louis area. There's been a lot of rain delays. There's been, and match that with bad messaging in the offseason, signing only one player, and it was a $2 million contract to Phil Maton, which so far has been a really good move. And I think everyone liked the move. But if you're not going to trade off pieces and then you're not going to add, it just creates confusion and honestly, like we've seen, apathy through the fan base. But if they start winning, man, like at a higher level, if they come back from this Boston series 6-3 or 7-2, you're going to start seeing that tone switch. Cardinal fans will come, but I also think you can't take them for granted and assume they will come regardless of what you do. In the last 2 years, I think the narrative for the more casual fans is this team's the exact same, which it kind of is. And why would I go spend my money on a team that's not spending money on itself? And I think that's fair, even though I will be going to the game next week against Philadelphia. Chad Hirschman looking good at leadoff too. He definitely is, for sure. Kareem, who do you think the Cardinals should consider signing to pre-arb extension, and what order of preference? That's a great question. I know they're horrified of pre-arb extensions because of Paul DeJong, which is funny because even though that contract wasn't a good contract, we all know that, it didn't kill them by any means. It didn't stop them from doing other things, I don't think. The interesting part about this conversation is I don't think they do it to anyone this year because apparently Chaim Bloom and Mo don't have each other's phone numbers, and they're using that as an excuse not to do anything. It's very weird. You think they'd collaborate. But I think the clear one for me that I would like to see get an extension is Nootbaar, mainly because I think if you do that now, you probably get a better deal than if you do it at the end of this year if he's healthy. It's a bet you have to make, but he's one of the guys with upside. like a guy like Brendan Donovan, I think he's worth keeping around for a long time. But if he's, a guy that you have to do that, last year of arbitration and extend him for 3 years, I don't know if he's going to get a massive contract. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has a 390 OBP this year and hits 20 homers, and then he's looking at, $100 million or more. That's possible, and I hope he does that. But he's probably not at the top of my list. And the three guys that are the most interesting because they probably have, I don't like the ceiling conversation, but the biggest potential to be the next face of your franchise, Walker, Wynn, and Scott, probably the three most interesting to me. And man, it would be hard for me to not look at what it would look like to get a contract for both Mason Wynn and Victor Scott and Jordan Walker for that matter, and seeing if you can give them a Christian Campbell type deal, who just got 8 years from the Red Sox, with some incentives in there. You can give them, not quite the level of the Bobby Witt Jr., J Rod extensions because they're not that player yet. But you can maybe intrigue them with, hey, we're going to keep you here for a long time. And if you're as good as you think you can be, you're going to make a lot of money. I would like that a lot. I think Victor Scott's a guy right now. Yeah, it's only 6 games. Once again, I'll say it again. I get it, but he's a guy that you look at and you say, man, like even if he can hit like this or anywhere close to this, and he has this potential, and he does this for a full year at some point in time with that defense, which I think we all agree with reps is going to keep getting better. It would not shock any of us if he wins a Gold Glove at some point in time. I mean, how valuable can that guy be? I don't know if he's going to be quite Michael Harris the second, but could he be, right below him in terms of value? I think it's definitely possible. Um, so those are kind of my thoughts. Palante would be an interesting one. I don't know if I do that yet. We'll see what Quinn Matthews looks like when he's up. He might be a guy you look to do that with. I think pitchers are interesting because they probably want to get locked up a little bit more because they know injuries are more prevalent and pitchers can be cycled through like crazy. But I don't know if I jump at any of them right now, other than those three I just named, because and Newpar as well. Those four, like I would put something on the table to them and try and work it out because at the end of the day, this reset, whatever you want to call it, transition, they did it a bit late in these guys' playing cycles because some of these guys only have 3 years left. So by the time you get this team to maybe being a World Series contender, if they're not this year, which I hope they are, but we don't know, then they might be, 1 year away from the entire thing falling apart like the Cubs did. Um, what do you think the plan is going forward with Gorman? Do you see a world where he can earn more playing time over guys like Burley and or Donnie? Um, Not Donnie. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Donovan's a regular and he should be. Him and Burley's interesting. I think for Gorman, the thing that sucks about this is he looks like he's hot right now, right? He's hit they had the 3-hit game, hit a home run. And you really don't want to waste Gorman's hot streaks because they can carry you for a week or two. And like he did that last year in Houston, he was just out of this world. And basically carried you that series. They might have lost that series, but still. I I don't know. I don't know what their plan is with him. Like I like Burley a lot too, and I think he's very consistent. I think you know what you're gonna get. I really like him in that 5-6 hole in the lineup where you're gonna have guys on for him, and he's gonna be able to drive runs in. We saw that last year. But if you're playing an upside game here, like Gorman could be a 35 home run guy. Like there's no reason to believe he couldn't do that. But what's he doing in between those 35 homers? Is he going 0 for 3 with 3 Ks and hitting a homer, 2 homers a week, and then outside of that, he's basically useless? Or is he more like 2023 in the first half where he's drawing walks and he's getting on base and his batting average isn't below 200? I know we don't care about average that much, but it can't be 180 like that. That can't happen. So I don't know, but I'd like to see what he can do. I think if you're in a year where you want to see what these young guys can do, he's definitely a guy I want to see what he can do. James Johnson says Walker, Gorman, Wynn, Scott, Herrera, and Burley. I'm guessing those are the guys that he'd like to see get pre-arb extensions. Yeah, Herrera's an interesting one too. I didn't even say him. Herrera's a guy where if he keeps doing this, you definitely look at what it would take to lock him up. He's still young. Catchers that can hit aren't common in this game, especially the ones that you develop. When was the last time they developed a catcher that was like an offensive first catcher? I know Yachty ended up being really good offensively, but we all know that was not his calling card. So yeah, Herrera's definitely a guy I would like to see stay around for a long time. Bristow, I just feel the only way we can truly give him consistent playing time is a Burley slump, injury, or a trade with Arenado. Yeah, I don't think Arenado's going to get traded because I think he has to play really well for people to want him. And I think if he's playing really well, this team's probably playing well, and that means they're probably keeping him. Unless in the offseason, Heim Bloom, who we haven't seen a Heim Bloom run team in St. Louis yet, So it could look like, hey, we're trading guys like with big contracts. That's possible. But at this season, I don't think Arenado's going anywhere. Um, I do wish they'd give Gorman more playing time. I think you have to play him this series, though. Against Bueller and Fitz, he's in the lineup for me because we remember last time we were in Boston and he just went insane and bullied Kelly Jansen, him and Wilson, and they swept him. That's a place where he hit really well. He obviously saw the ball really well there. I'd like to see him get some at bats. In Boston, you like to have guys with power in it. He also notoriously eats in Boston. Yes, yes, we're on the same wavelength. Yes, he does. So let's see. What do you guys think about this series in Boston? What's your prediction? Spell check didn't help. That's funny. I think they win 2 games. My pick to click, so to say, would be I'm gonna pick Mason Wynn. I think he's gonna have a big series down at the bottom of the order. They need him to. They need him to step up. He's been a lot of RB opportunities early in the season where he hasn't gotten it done. Last year we saw the exact opposite early in the year. I think he's gonna figure it out. He's one of the guys I definitely have a ton of faith in. All right, well, that probably about wraps it up. I don't have much else to say. My mouth's getting kind of dry. I've been talking for too long. Well, thanks for joining me. If you missed any of this and you want to go back and listen, it's going to be up on YouTube right after this uploads. I think. I don't really know how this works. It could be gone forever, but I think it will be up there. Who knows? And it will also be on Spotify later. Maybe. I think. I don't know. So I appreciate you all for listening and watching and tuning in for our first one. Hopefully, we'll do more of these. I think at some point in time during the season, I would like to maybe do some right after games. That's possible, especially if the team's good enough to motivate me to want to do that. If they keep losing games and extra innings to bad teams, I might not be doing that. We'll see. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time. OV scored. Thanks for telling me. All right. See you guys next time. All right. Go Cards.